Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to another Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking process video. Today I will be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring Stampin' Up's Celebrate Together 12 by 12 Designer Series paper and the Pretty Floral stamps and dies. Both products were released in May 2025. Everything I use will be listed below along with my link to Stampin' Up! The design I'll be sharing is a one-sheet wonder scrapbooking style. I will show you how to exploit one piece of pattern paper to the max and create an effective design. So let's get started. You are about to see what's on my desk. This is kind of my narrowed down selection of paper. So I have one 5 by 5 photo of me in a garden eating an ice cream cone, and I have one sheet of pattern paper. So what you need here is one tight print. I prefer a tighter print with the flip side a tone on tone. This comes from that Celebrate Together paper pack. I need another paper, white I'm choosing, for the foundation page and a coordinating cardstock for matting. So I'm just going to show you the celebratory sips. It's not celebratory sips, it's called Celebrate Together. The collection is called Celebratory Sips. It's basically a Stampin' Up! Collection, a lot of it focused on summery drinks. So there's glasses along with fruits and stuff like that, but there's also great B-sides and there's florals in it. I'm showing you the tools that go with it. It's called Cheers and Sips. So again, lots of glasses there, fruit, so there's stamps and dies for that. And there's also some embossing folders. I used all of that in my video last week, focusing on the drinks. But today's video, I'm going to focus on these florals. So it's going to have a complete different twist. The tools I'm bringing in are Pretty Florals. This was in the 2025-2026 annual catalog. I use it all the time. So I have florals and dies. I find them really, really versatile. I'm also going to be using this stamp set called Everyday You and Me. I'm going to be using this for the title. It's another stamp set I use frequently. It's actually on the last chance section now on sale. It was the last time I checked anyway. And I do have a handful of scraps coordinating with the pattern paper simply because I will be doing some die cutting. So let's start with the foundation page. I'm actually going to create my frame style foundation page on camera. Usually I don't, but because the design is a one sheet wonder and you really need to gut the foundation page paper in order to exploit this pattern paper, I thought I would do it on camera. So I'm putting it in my trimmer and I'm starting down at the 1 inch mark, and I do that all around. So basically what I'm doing is poking the blade in 1 inch down, and I do that all around, and that's going to give me a 1 inch frame all around, and it's going to give me a 10 by 10 block to play with later on. That white cardstock, which is Willow White from Stampin' Up, I'm adding some ink. It measures 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, so I trimmed off 1/4 inch from two sides, and now I'm placing it right on top of that frame. The reason why I wanted a tight pattern paper is because the frame I'm creating for this design is super narrow. So by having a super tight print, I can see all of the colors, even in that very narrow frame. Now with the paper that's left over, I'm trimming it down to 7.5 by 7.5. Then I'm going to put it in my trimmer on a diagonal and basically line it up corner to corner and cut it. Now this is going to be one of those diagonal triangle designs, and often you see them with larger papers, which are absolutely beautiful. When the papers are much larger than that, you end up having to cut with an X-Acto or a pair of scissors. When the block is 7.5 by 7.5, you can cut it with your straight trimmer, so it's nice and easy. Now I'm cutting myself out a block in this Blackberry Bliss two-tone cardstock, and that's actually going to house my triangles. That block measures 8 by 8. So I'm going to put all of this on my foundation page. You can see with that pattern paper so far, I've already created my frame, and with the paper that I gutted from behind that white cardstock, I have created 2 triangles. So that has a huge impact on my page with just one pattern paper. As you can see, I'm applying a bit of ink to these triangles, and I do it to the Blackberry Bliss as well. And the ink I used is called Smokey Slate from Stampin' Up. Off camera, I adhered those triangles on top of that block, and then I adhered the block right in the middle of the foundation page. You may have noticed as well, I did create an extra mat for my photos. It's off camera right now, but that photo has 2 mats now, one in white and one in Blackberry Bliss. As you can see, I have my die cutting machine out. I have the pretty floral stamps and dies. I have some ink, and I have a handful of coordinating scraps of paper. So I'm starting by creating these flowers here. I have a larger flower, which is the base of a flower, and then I have a layering piece. I am using both sides of fresh Freesia two-tone cardstock. So for the base flower here, I have the lighter color, and for the layering piece, I'm using the darker side of that two-tone cardstock. Before adhering the layer on top of the flower, what I'm going to do is do a bit of ink blending. So I am going to be getting out Blackberry Bliss ink and a Stampin' Up blending brush. I put some ink on the brush. Before applying it to the flower, I am going to use it a bit on that scrap paper because I don't want to add a big blob on my photo. I add a soft layer of ink, and then I will adhere the layer on top. And this is just such a fun way of elevating that flower. By the way, the adhesive I'm using is called Sticky Specks by Ecstasy Crafts. It's basically for adhering detailed die cuts. You place your detailed die cut on top of that sticky paper, it picks it up, and then you can adhere it to your page or your embellishment in this case. I do want to point out this ink blending technique on the flower. I saw Erin Jacobson from the YouTube channel Crafty Concepts with Erin do it. She created a fabulous layout, and I thought it was just such a wonderful, easy way to elevate that embellishment. So I'm sharing it with you, but I will link up her video below. Now you can see I am creating some more flowers. So I have a stamp, the same pretty floral stamp set. I'm using Blackberry Bliss ink. And now what I'm doing is taking a blending brush, and I'm using the fresh Freesia ink color just to add a bit of color on top of the flowers. It looks kind of messy now, but I will be die cutting it, so you won't notice it being all out of the edges, the coloring there. So I'm just getting out my die cutting machine. I'm only going to make you watch this once, and I do the rest off camera. And all these colors, by the way, the fresh Freesia along with the Blackberry Bliss, these are all colors that are found in that Celebrate Together paper pack. So the paper packs from Stampin' Up always list the colors on the back, so it's always super easy to find coordinating cardstock inks and stuff like that. I will create more of these flowers off camera, and then I'll be back and I will show you all of my embellishments. You are going to see I have more of those larger flowers. For some of them, the base layer, I did it on the paler side of the fresh Freesia cardstock, and for others, the base layer, I used the darker side. In both cases, I used the flip side of the paper, the opposite, to create the layer on top, to create a contrasting layer. You can see I created some more of those stamped flowers as well. And I also created some other flowers. I did this off camera, and I created it with Blackberry Bliss two-tone cardstock. Once again, these smaller flowers have layering pieces, so one flower has 2 pieces, but they come together really, really easy. When dies are too fussy, when there are too many pieces to create one embellishment, I typically shy away from it. But these flowers, there's only 2 pieces, so it's super, super easy. I am just showing you the dies for the smaller flowers. So one die cuts out 3 flowers, and the same thing for the layering piece. In addition to that, you can see I have a bunch of ephemera pieces. Now for these, I got it from an retired ephemera pack from Stampin' Up called Something for Everything. It's actually on the last chance list right now from Stampin' Up, and I think it's significantly reduced if it's still there. It was a few days ago when I created this video. You can see I have the rest of the ephemera pack in this empty stamp box. They come in sheets that you punch out. They punch out really, really easily. And what I do is I punch them out and I store them in these empty stamp boxes, and they're just easy to flip through. That one has a bunch of random different images. I have 3 more of those packs. I just showed you a floral one. This one is another one with random images, and the last one there had tags and labels. These are all in Stampin' Up color, so I typically keep them beside my desk. And when I need something a little extra to add to an embellishment cluster, what I do is I flip through those boxes, and often I just find the perfect little item. I am showing you I die cut myself a bunch of leaves and sprigs, once again from this Pretty Florals die set. There are a bunch of standalone leaf dies here. And the paper I used was Old Olive two-tone cardstock. So once again, I used both sides of it, and that gives me a variety of colors for the leaves. I did do my journaling off camera. You can see I used the Nested Essentials dies. Basically, I wrote it on the computer, printed it on white cardstock, and then die cut it. I also have those holographic resin dots. I didn't end up using those. And I did stamp and die cut my title. So the stamps I used were the Everyday You and Me stamp set. I love that one because the sentiments are huge, so they're great for scrapbooking titles. And I die cut the title with the Spotlight on Nature die. So those are nesting circle dies, again with some embossed edging around the outer edge. So what I'm going to do right now is start creating my embellishment clusters. And essentially, my plan is to create a large cluster hugging the bottom right corner of the photo and having it kind of go up along the right side of the photo. So that's going to be significant. It's also going to house my title and my journaling. And my plan at this point is to have a repetition, but much smaller, in the opposite corner. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this because I want to talk about a few other things while I embellish. But essentially what you're going to see me do is start with the larger items, especially on the right, kind of focusing in that bottom right corner. Then I'm going to fill out the cluster with smaller items, leaves and smaller flowers. As I work my way up on the right, it's going to be much lighter than the heavier items towards the bottom. And then later, I will kind of work in the kitty corner in the top left. 2 things I want to talk about here. Number 1, the journaling. You may notice it's justified to the left. I did that on purpose because I knew my journaling would go at the bottom, and I wanted there to be an open space on the right-hand side of my journaling so that my embellishments could overlap the journaling box. I didn't overthink it. All I did was make sure that there was an open space there. That way I would work with it when I was building the cluster. The other thing I want to talk about is gut feeling. You may notice at the bottom, I have a piece of ephemera there, and it's basically a dessert trolley. This is a story about me at an ice cream place that I like to go to every summer. They specialize in ice cream and they have a beautiful garden out back. That is what my story is about. When I was selecting my embellishments from the ephemera pack, I found ice cream that worked. There were butterflies, great for a garden, but there was also this dessert trolley that has like cupcakes and cakes. At the time, I was kind of stretching my imagination. I'm thinking ice cream, dessert, the colors work, I can make that work. But I didn't particularly like it. I kept moving forward with it anyway, even though I had that nagging gut feeling that I didn't like it. I had the ice cream, that worked perfectly. The dessert trolley, I was stretching it. Now, before I continue, I just want to say you can put whatever you want in your embellishment clusters. It's your page. But how you create clusters you love is following your gut. If you love that dessert trolley there, go for it. My gut was telling me I don't like it, but I kept moving forward with it. The only reason I think I kept moving forward with it is because I had it and I thought, why not use it? You're going to see as I continue adhering. I've already adhered that dessert trolley, ignoring my gut feeling. I'm continuing with the larger flowers, the title. Now I'm working towards the top with the smaller flowers. These small flowers, the darker ones, I am popping them up on foam adhesive. All the while, I have this feeling inside that I don't particularly like that dessert trolley, but I'm leaving it there anyway. And again, I say it. It can go there. There's nothing wrong with it. This message is about following your gut feeling, and inside, I'm not liking it. What I ended up doing was stopping my camera. I removed the dessert trolley. I moved the title and the two large flowers down a bit so that they kind of overlap that journaling box. I simply added one more flower above the title, and the rest is more or less the same. I love the cluster now. By removing that trolley that I didn't particularly like, I ended up loving my cluster. So my cluster would have been okay to me, the creator, but now I love it. So that is the message in following your gut. As you can see, I have moved to the opposite corner. I started by placing the embellishments underneath the photo. I liked that better, but I didn't like the fact that it hid my triangles. I really like the triangles in this design. So I decided to put the embellishments underneath the block instead of underneath the photo. That way I could show my triangles. I'm doing it, but I feel like the cluster is too far away from my photo. So my idea is under the photo and hide the triangles, or not at all, even though my idea in the beginning was to have two clusters. Now you can see I've kind of abandoned that second cluster, and I'm trying to fit in a few ephemera pieces. This time a couple butterflies. That works for me. It's in a garden. And my ice cream cone. That certainly goes for me as well. Anyway, here is my finished layout, and all I ended up doing off camera was, number one, deciding not to put that second cluster there, and number two, I did adhere those two butterflies and the ice cream cone. So in general, basically what I showed in this video is, first of all, a design can be super, super simple and still effective. In this case, by using both sides of only one pattern paper, I was able to create a cohesive look that is still somewhat complex. Typically, a B side of a paper, a tone on tone, matches perfectly with a more busier A side, and that's exactly what I did here. So simple. One piece of pattern paper using both sides. Another thing with regards to embellishment clusters, who says you need two or even three clusters on a page? At the risk of being cliche, sometimes less is more. And finally, in the end, following your gut. Do you like what's on your page? Listen to your gut. It's your page. If you want to put a unicorn on a snowball page, go right ahead if that's what feels good to you. But if you don't want to put a dessert trolley on a page because it's about ice cream, that's okay too. As I mentioned earlier, everything I used will be listed in the description box below, along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, please support him or her. But if not, and something catches your eye, thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would love it if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.